My name is Dr. Tushar Mehta. I'm from Canada, and I did my residency there in family medicine. I've also practiced addictions medicine, and I've mostly practiced emergency medicine, or what you call A&E in some countries. I have an interest in international health, and I do work in India and a few other places. And on top of that, I have a strong interest in plant-based diet and health. So when I say plant-based diet and health, you can also say vegan diet and health. And I'm here on behalf of Hina Modi and plantshift.com. This is going to be my last video for the series, and this one I'm not going to talk so much about nutrition. I'm going to talk about the environment. Okay. Now, if you look down in the downloading references, there's in the notes of the YouTube, you can download the vegan diet and health reference list, and I want you to go through that as much as possible because I'm a data-driven person. I want people not just to accept what I say, but to look at the studies that I've referenced. And I've referenced in the videos like, one or two studies or 3 or 4 studies about certain topics, but there's actually many more studies that I'm not going to go through all of them in the videos themselves. It would just take too long. So you can see the studies that I've mentioned and see many more studies. In addition, also, confirming and showing similar results, and therefore giving more evidence about, prevention of disease like heart disease and so forth. But there's another download that's going to be there as well, and that's my set of studies, and you can see it it's going to be about animal agriculture and food security, or some such title, okay? And what there is, basically, is that I'm a physician, and yes, I care about individual people's health, and that's why I'm doing these videos. But what I also care about global health. All right, I work in rural India, and I've worked in some village areas there, and you can see the struggles that people go through in the developing countries there in rural areas of India. I've also done some work in Zimbabwe in the past, and in Kenya, not a whole lot compared to India, but I've seen some of the situations there, and also keeping aware and learning about things around the world. Some of the major problems worldwide are things like climate change, which impacts food security because now you're having basically temperatures and the weather that either dumps rain in certain places or causes droughts in certain places, and is not conducive to farming. You have desertification, you have deforestation, and animal agriculture is shown to be one of the largest cause of many of these problems. So if you look at the references, most of them from the United Nations and some other major environmental organizations, animal agriculture takes up 30% of the non-frozen surface of the earth. It's the single biggest cause of deforestation, wetland loss, species extinction, and so forth. According to a United Nations document 2012, it's 25% of all greenhouse gases are caused by animal agriculture. Now that's adding in the direct emissions from animal agriculture, but also the emissions caused from deforestation when you're burning or decomposing the forest as you clear land to grow food for feeding animals or grazing animals. Okay, you have to clear the forest before you can graze the animals. It's grass-fed animals take up much more land than factory farm-based animals. But either which way, even if you're factory farmed, you have to keep cutting down new forests and laying down more soybean farms to feed these animals, or corn, or grazing grounds. It's the biggest cause of deforestation. And when you deforest, that emits carbon from the trees that are being burned or decomposing. Biggest cause of wetland loss as you turn wetlands into farm lands, and therefore it's the biggest loss of biodiversity from the oceans through fishing, which is basically clearing out the oceans, and the deforestation, wetland loss again. Okay, so it's the biggest cause of species extinction. There's a lot of data showing that if you were to use the same amount of land that we use to grow food, but just switch to plant-based food, we'd be able to grow enough food in the form of grains, vegetables, fruits, and lentils, and so forth, to feed an extra 4 billion people. Okay, so there's more than enough. Basically to feed a plant-based diet person, it takes this much land, and somebody who's eating a lot of animal food is going to take like a lot more land, proportionally, because you have to feed this much animal food to feed to an animal, and they only get that much food back in the flesh or the eggs or the milk of an animal. Okay, so 50% of the worldwide crops are used to feed animals, not humans, and more than 90% of all soy is used to feed animals and that are fed back to humans. When it comes to the fish in the oceans, I mentioned that in the one about omega-3s, that basically there's 35 million people fishing in 20 million boats around the world, and 30% of the fish populations have already collapsed as of 2010. And in 2010, 55% were in intermediate danger, and only 25% of the world's fish populations were still at sort of healthy levels. And by 2050, this is all data comes from United Nations documents, and by 2050, you know, the oceans will be mostly wiped out of all fish. Okay, so really devastating things for the Earth, biodiversity, and future food security of people. And yes, there are other factors of sort of population control, our fossil fuel use, and urban sprawl, urban design, and all the behaviors of humans, but this is one of the ones that has the most impact of all. Okay, so when we're talking about our health, yes, plant-based diet is healthier for certain reasons, but it's also important to look at ecological impacts and global health. And what we eat has an impact on other people in the world and other human beings, and sort of the food justice of the world, and the food security of people in developing countries especially. Okay, watch a movie called Cowspiracy. There's a movie called Cowspiracy, excellent movie about summarizing the impact of animal agriculture on the environment, on oceans, forests, climate change, and so forth. And the data that goes into that movie is pretty much in the download that I mentioned to you in this video, and you'll see all the data points discussed from the United Nations documents and so forth that they use in the Cowspiracy movie. Okay, so thanks again for watching. I hope that these videos have been beneficial in terms of helping people understand the research and the level of research on plant diet and health. In some diseases like diabetes and cardiovascular disease, extremely strong evidence, and it's more moderate evidence in areas of cancer, but very promising that certain cancers can be prevented, a certain number of cancers can be prevented without the use of medications or any extra testing, and that's going to be great for humans. All right, some other diseases we mentioned too, devastating things like dementia, and then finally things about global health, food security, and the environment. So thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed this group of videos, and thanks to PlantShift and Hina for this opportunity to share a few tidbits about all the things that I've been studying and the academics. And as always, please go ahead and look at the references. Thank you. So the references for every single video that I have are going to be downloadable from the description box, where you can click and download the entire set of references, and then just scroll down to the relevant references. If it's a video on diabetes or cancer or something like that, scroll down to the relevant section and take a look at the references that I'm speaking about. In my videos, I'll generally discuss one reference, but it's going to take too long to discuss 10 references and you'll be bored out of your mind. So I'll discuss one, and then you can go into the reference list and look at more references that are talking about the same topic. And it's important not just to have one reference, but to have multiple references that discuss a topic, because then you're seeing that different studies are being done in different places by different people, and they're getting similar results that are reinforcing each other. Okay, so that's another good thing to look at.